we need to talk about this cheesecake that I made. I mean, today I'm gonna show you how to make the easiest and the most delicious no-bake ricotta cheesecake that there ever was. You've got this really creamy ricotta cheesecake, and then it's all held together by this shortbread cookie crust. I topped it with berries, and it is so delicious. If you want to use graham crackers, you can also skip the shortbread, you can skip the berries. Like, the ricotta cheesecake itself is just such a good canvas for anything that you like. You can do an Oreo crust, you can do a chocolate wafer crust, a vanilla wafer crust. I think the creativity of cake crust or pie crust is so underrated. Like, you have so much creative control here, and you use the same method that I'm going to show you, but I highly recommend this shortbread cookie crust. It is so delicious. Oh my goodness. It's that good. So before I got to this absolutely perfect and simple recipe, I actually failed it a few times. So you know that I've tested this and tested this. I promise this is pretty foolproof. My number one tip for anyone who doesn't really have a steady hand, or you just want it to be as seamless as possible, either get a springform pan or use a springform pan. Those are those pans that detach on the side. There's like a buckle, so the edges just come off and your crust is perfect. Or if you don't have one of those, you can just go to the store and buy a disposable pie pan that's made with foil. I recommend some kind of easy lift of the cake out of the pan. I did something a little untraditional. I actually lined a cake pan with some foil, and then I lined it and made a crust, and it turned out really well. But you know, there are some random foil shapes in the crust. So if you're trying to go for absolute perfection, springform pan is where it's at. The way I did it totally worked. Just make sure foil doesn't get stuck in the sides of the crust, because you don't want to be eating tin foil. Something else you can do is just make the cheesecake filling and then make the shortbread crumble and serve it as like a dip. This is no bake, so you can really get fun and shape shift it. The flavor is what counts, and the flavor is fantastic. For the crust, I used the Walker's Pure Butter Shortbread Cookies. These are my favorite. I love them. They're buttery. They're just buttery cookies. I mean, you can't go wrong. For me, this is perfect. I love them, but you can use any kind of shortbread cookie. Do whatever you want. Graham crackers also work perfectly. So do wafers, so do Oreos, like, live your truth. Our first step is to get that crust going. So I'm gonna get a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can just use a blender. If you don't have a blender, get a plastic bag, get a heavy object that won't break, like a hammer, and smash those cookies. We have our crust. I'm just adding some unsalted butter, and I'm gonna massage it into the cookies, the crumbs, with my hands. I did a really messy job, but basically I lined a cake pan with some foil so that I can lift the crust out easily in the end. I use our hands to put it into place. So make sure you're smoothing out the bottom first, and you're bringing enough on the sides. So you don't have to do this next step, but I like to do it to make sure it's extra creamy. I'm gonna put some ricotta, whole milk ricotta, over this strainer. What I am trying to do is get any excess liquid out. So just push, kind of just massage it into the strainer. This is optional, but some of the milk does come out. This is whole milk ricotta, and sometimes it's stored with an excess water content. So I just like to make sure that, you know, any excess water is being strained. I'm just gonna load it up. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Absolutely delicious. There's something so satisfying about watching cheesecake filling being massaged into the crust. I don't know what it is. So I'm actually just gonna let this set before I put any berries in. Now we're just gonna add the berries. I know the audio's messed up. I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long few days of testing this recipe. Literally just like put the berries on the cake. It is really as simple as it sounds. Oh my God. This cheesecake is so creamy. I gave myself a really small slice because I have been eating so much of it, but I need you to see this. I am so proud of myself. This is the best no-bake cheesecake I have ever had. It takes a lot for me to say that. I've had a lot of no-bake desserts. I've had a lot of baked desserts. I've had a lot of cheesecakes. The taste of this, it really is reminiscent of traditional cheesecake. Of course, the structure is different. This is way more creamy. It's more of a cold dessert than a baked cheesecake. But when I eat cheesecake, I actually prefer it cold. So I love the ricotta in here too, because it adds something different to the structure. But of course, it also adds flavor. It's a very mild, kind of sweet cheese, and then you have this really nice creamy cream cheese. The powdered sugar ties it all together and creates this nice sweet cake, and also helps build some structure because it is a powder. And I think also the crust is so good. I told myself I wouldn't eat another slice. But here I am. Here I am. Just can't stop eating. I need to lay down. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you make this cheesecake. It is so easy. It's basically foolproof. But as always, if you have any questions at all, feel free to message me or leave a comment down below. My Instagram is Dining with Skyler. This recipe is going to be on my website withskyler.com. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I love ya. I love you all. Okay, one more for the kill.